Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under S.D. Haggis. And today we're doing my very final stream of 2025, and we are doing a craft symposium stream where we talk about a craft book. Today we are going to be talking about the 12-week year. Okay. Sorry, I had to make sure everything was working correctly on my end. Um, but this is by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. Hold on just a second. I have the cover. Nope, that's not what I want. This is what I want. There we go. Aha, there we go. So that is the book we're going to be discussing today. Um, it is about basically completing your goals in 12 weeks and fitting a year's worth of work in 12 weeks. Um, it goes into detail about this particular planning system. Um, Not as much as I would like, but we'll get into that. And then it also it is definitely geared more towards business owners than writers. However, they do have a writing form of the book called The 12-Week Year for Writers, and this is by A. Trevor Thrall, PhD. And we're actually going to be discussing that one in January. I'm taking a full hiatus in December from all things YouTube. I might be in the chat of some things, but I will not be doing any videos. I will not be doing any live streams, nothing like that. So, complete hiatus in December, and we'll be back in January. And the last Sunday of the month in January, we're going to actually be discussing the 12-week year for writers. But I figured we'd start with the 12-week year because at the beginning of this month, November, it just came out in paperback, and I'd read it before, and I wanted to read it again to see if I couldn't really remember what it was about, or how the system worked or anything like that. So I was like, let me get it. We'll we'll read it and we'll discuss it and we'll see what happens. So that is what I did. I have all these lovely tabs where I've marked things where I've had like individual thoughts. I've got some things marked that I wanted to show you guys tonight during the stream. And yeah, we're going to discuss this book. But first, before we do that, I'm going to say hi to people in the comments. Let's see who all is here tonight. Margaret popped in before I even went live saying we'll be at a family dinner, but we'll be curious for the replay. Well, I hope you will enjoy your family dinner. I hope you have a lovely time. And spending time with family is definitely better than being at a live stream with internet friends. Before I did this live stream tonight, we were actually in town discussing whether or not we had enough time before I did this live stream to go see a movie as a family for our own family night, and we decided to put that off until next weekend. So next weekend we're gonna do family night and watch a movie, and tonight I'm doing this stream without having to worry about making sure I get here in time to get set up and everything ready. So that's fun. Stephanie is here. Hello. I haven't read the book, but I'm here for all your awesome thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm going to condense my thoughts down to mostly because of the fact that I took a lot of notes, but oops, a lot of my notes are the kind that are like stream of consciousness thoughts, and some of it didn't make a lot of sense at the time and was explained later kind of thoughts. So it's fine. So I have lots of thoughts, but I am going to condense them down because my plan with these kind of streams is to keep them roughly around hour and a half, if at all possible, just because the only thing we're doing is discussing a singular book. So that's the plan. That said, the last time I did one of these streams, it was like 2.5 hours long. So we'll see what happens. Rachel is here. Hello. Haven't read it, but I'm curious about the writer's version. We'll be discussing that in January. It is in my wish list. Nice. Eva's here. Hello. Neither read nor heard of it. Here because it is Skye's dream. Well, thank you for joining me. Especially since it's my last one for the season. Let's see. I just discovered that in Restream there's this section called notes where you can put like your notes and stuff. So I have all of my notes of what I wanted to talk about. So I kind of stay on topic tonight. But if you have a question, feel free to throw that in the comment section at different points. I'll be checking that out and keeping an eye on that. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and throw up for anyone who wants the book itself, it is in the description, but I'm also going to throw it up in the comments section for anyone who wants to purchase a copy of it. I think that leads to the ebook. It is available in ebook, hardback, and now it's available in paperback, whereas the writer one, which we'll be discussing in January, is only currently available in hardback and ebook. There is not a paperback version. And if you've been around my channel long enough, you know that I like me a floppy paperback. So I'm a paperback girly. And part of the reason that I wanted to read this month actually was because of the fact that I got a notification that the paperback had gone on pre-order. And so like I pre-ordered it and it came out November 3rd, I want to say, something like that, beginning of this month. And so I jumped on that. And that was part of the reason I wanted to discuss it, especially since I already had the ebook copy of the writer version. And part of the reason I want to discuss this one this month is so that I can compare it to the writer version in January. So, but yeah, if anyone who wants to join me for that, feel free. This book, like I said, is definitely more towards business. It's structured with businesses in mind, and it's split into two parts. Things you think you know, that's part one, and then part two is putting it all together. However, one of my biggest pet peeves about this book was the way the information was kind of laid out and formatted, because it felt a lot of times like there was pieces of information that were in part one that should have been in part two, and vice versa. A lot of it was, we're going to talk about a little bit of information here in a lot of detail, but we're not explaining to you why you need that information until this part. And I was just like, what is the point? There was a lot of notes I made where I was like, what is the point of telling me this? How does this relate to this? And there were times that I was getting frustrated while reading it because it did not make sense. And I think that's where the business side comes in. Because I think if I'd had more of a business mindset going into this, if I was trying to read this with a financial company in mind or a real estate company in mind, I think it would have made a lot more sense, because there is a different kind of mindset I feel with being an author and a writer versus being a businessman or a businesswoman. There is, I feel, a lot of differences in the way it's the left brain versus right brain kind of thinking. And I feel like this was more, which one's the more analytical? This one was more left brain, the analytical version, whereas I usually typically think right brained with the creative side. I think I have that correct. Flip flop it if I'm wrong. This is definitely structured in a way for people who are more so looking for a system that'll work in a business world. And I think the other thing I really didn't like about this is with the way it was laid out, with the way the information was laid out. Two other things. The main thing was that at times it felt like it was directing the information to a particular, like an individual who works for a company and is just trying to better their life. And at other times, there were sections within different chapters that were definitely directed towards team leaders and how you direct your team. And I felt a better way to do that was to do, I wish the way it had been laid out was that it had talked towards like individuals first, all in one go, and then had a separate section was like, by the way, if you've already gone through this yourself and you're looking to direct your team, here's how you use this with a team. And it was not. It was like individual team, individual team, individual team. And a lot of times there was a lot of points that was flip-flopped, going back to the point where I said that there was information in part one that should have been in part two and vice versa. There was a lot of the same thing with the individual versus team thing as well. The other thing that I really didn't like about it was how it read a lot. In some ways, it read a lot like an infomercial, in the way that it was like, let's hear from XYZ person about their life before and after trying this system and how it changed their life and how it can help you with your life, kind of thing. Like it felt like that a lot of times, and that got a little annoying, especially when it was like the same story repeated with just different people and situations. It just grinds my gears. So, um, I think those were the main things that irritated me about the book. I'll go into like what it actually talked about in just a second. I think the last thing that actually irritated me was that it was definitely in certain chapters, it very much was like, if you want more information or if you want more examples, go to this website. And I'll put that website in for anyone who is interested in checking it out. But what I don't like about the website is that it was a place for you to put in your information so that you can get downloads, so that you can get the documents that you can do this yourself. So you don't have to make them yourself. You can get these pre-made documents, PDFs, and charts and stuff, which is not a big deal. However, the information it asked for was a little weird. Like it asked for first name, last name, email, phone number, and then it asked you like which best describes you, and it was a drop down menu with like, are you an individual business owner, are you a sole proprietorship, and stuff like that. Basically what kind of business level you're at, an LLC, all that fun jazz. What I think that the part that irritates me the most about that is that the first and last name weren't required. You know how it has that little asterisk that says required information in order for this to work? First and last name weren't required, but email and phone number were. Why do you need my phone number? Email, I understand. Why do you need my phone number? I don't understand that. And reading back through the information on the website, I do understand it. So that if you join their community, they can give you a call and they can walk you through things that you don't understand. But I'm like, why? Why? And again, I think that comes more from the business standpoint versus the analytical business standpoint versus the creative writing standpoint. I think that's the difference there. Oh, okay. Eva says, I'm listening while I do work in other tabs. Rachel says, yeah, that sucks. I love my paperbacks. Dawn is here. Hello. Oh. Obviously need this, so stop trying to sell it to me. Yes, exactly. I do not like, and there was several of those throughout the entire book, not just in the part one, but also it was staggered in like every other chapter had at least one example, if not two or three. And it just got to the point where I was like skipping those sections where I was like, I don't want to hear about Chris and his life before he did this, and then how this supposedly changed his life with only changing a few simple steps. And it wasn't like any detail into what they actually did. It was just, I tried it, I set the system in place, and it worked. Details, my man, details, please. If you're going to give me information like that, give me details. What specifically did you do? That's when they're trying to get info for the cold call research. Yes, exactly. That's what it felt like. In the end, it felt very much, by the time I saw that last box, because it had that box a couple of times where it was like, for more information, go to this website, which is I included in the comments section. But by the end of it, I felt very much like it was a giant infomercial for their further courses kind of thing, because they have on that page that I sent a link to, they have the free information. But when you log into the site and you get all that information, they also have paid courses. So you get that stuff for free, but also we want you to pay us money for more. If you want us to personally hold your hand while you do this, pay up, kind of thing. And that was rather annoying. Rachel says, it feels like when you want a recipe, but they want to tell you about how they found this recipe, you just, yes, full on block. Yes, that's exactly what it feels like. I just want the recipe. Eva says that sums up most self-help books to me. I'm starting to get that. I don't read a lot of the self-help books, and I've been trying to stick with just craft books, but almost every other every other self-help book I've read has been that way. And I'm just like, can you just give me the information I want? And they don't. Things I did like about the book. I did like when they finally got around to telling us how to set up the system, which again, I will show you some of the pictures and graphs of what it talks about and how it goes into detail about that. And we'll go into that in just a second. I did like how it had the graphs and the pictures and the examples. That was the main thing. I like that it showed examples. I have always been a visual person, so I did like the fact that it was like, here's an example of what we're talking about. I was like, yes, that is what I needed. I needed that more than the words. If you had just shown me that from the beginning, you would have had me hooked. Another thing I like is that they had some pep talks. Because it's a 12-week system, a quarterly system basically, they did have pep talks for weeks 2, 3, 5, 8, and 11. My only pet peeve with that is I wish they had had pep talks for all 12 weeks. I think that would have been super cool. It does make me kind of want to create my own so that I can have those. Like, there was an author tuber at one point. I want to say it was Kate Kavanaugh, but do not quote me on that. They were doing, this was years ago. I don't know how many years. And what they did is they were doing some kind of writing challenge. I believe it was NaNoWriMo. Again, do not quote me on that. But they had little envelopes, and every day when they met their word quota, they would open up the envelope and read the little pep talk that they had basically sent themselves. They wrote them ahead of time, put them all in envelopes and numbered them for the different days. That's what these pep talks felt like, kind of. And I did appreciate that. I liked that portion of it. I just wish there had been more of them, because it would have been really cool to see a pep talk for every single week. Like, prior to starting the challenge, especially like if it's your first time doing this, trying to implement this system, it would have been cool to see something like that. And then a pep talk, especially for like the beginning, week 1, and then week 12, after, like, congratulations, you've done it kind of thing. And there wasn't one of those. They gave you one for week 11 saying that this is the final week. They didn't give you one for after you complete the final week. I was like, why? But I did like the pep talks. They were very interesting to read, and I did enjoy those. So the 12-week year, the way this is laid out, let me make sure I'm not missing any comments and questions first. Welcome, JC. You are not late. You arrived directly when you were supposed to. Rachel says, yeah, I never noticed it until I started reading things on Substacks and things like this. Yeah. Well, I'm here and watching the football game. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Okay. So there's been no extra comments or questions yet. So I have to admit that the 12-week year is very, very, very similar to Heart Breathing Sarah Cannon's HB90 method. So I will say this straight up front. If you have already done, or if you are already using Sarah's HB90 method, this is almost the exact same thing. It is coming up with your goals. And in Sarah's case, she uses 3. In the examples in this book, they use 3 goals. The examples they use are usually towards health and fitness and business, but it's still 3 goals. Sarah Cannon's HB90 method, 3 goals. Hello, Laura, welcome. And then in this book, you break down those goals into what they call tactics. And in the HB90 method, you break them down into tasks. And Sarah Cannon uses time blocks in order to accomplish those tasks. And this talks about breaking your tactics down so that you can accomplish them in various time blocks, different time blocks for different things, but still breaking them down into time blocks. And so if you already do Sarah Cannon's HB90 method and you like her method and it works for you, I don't recommend this book. It's literally the same thing, just worded differently, because again, it goes more to that business analytical style versus the writer creative style. But it's exactly the same thing. Create your goals, create your tactics/tasks, implement time blocks in order to accomplish those goals/tactics. And that is it. So If you are a fan of the HB90 method, I do not recommend this book for you. However, if you do, if you want to try the HB90 method and either can't afford the course or don't understand the workbook without the course, or maybe you need something that is more structured with a business mind in mind, a business tactic in mind, this might be something for you. So that is my biggest caveat there, is that it's pretty much the same as the HB90 method. It's just the HB90 method is for writers because Sarah Cannon is a writer. And then um, this is directed more towards business folk because they're businessmen. So that is the caveat there. Oh my goodness, the chat is going crazy. Hold on, let me catch up. Laura's here. Hello. Guess what? You are awesome. Period. Thank you. Work went well today. Hallelujah. I am so thankful for that. That is awesome. Jenna is here. Hello. Okay, everyone's saying hi to each other. Fancy. Hi, Ogre. Did I get your attention somehow? I did not mean to get your attention. Did not mean to get your attention. Okay. Can I go back to my stream now? No? Must pet you. Dog break, I'm sorry. We just being social. That's fine. It's all good. For anyone who has not met him yet, this is Ogre. He's my big boy. Please do not jump on my lap. Okay. Cat Paw's here. Hello, just popping in briefly. Welcome. Loves and kisses. Yes, he gets all the loves and kisses and cuddles. Okay. Can I go back to? I need to show them stuff. I gotta open the book now. Mwah, love you. Now, let me. Okay, I will. I gotta do this one-handed apparently. Where's my first marker? Okay. Backside of the page. I need my hand. Thank you. So when I described this, I said one of the things I liked about this book was how it had examples. It has illustrated examples. Let's see. I gotta pull up my camera so I can actually see. Okay. So this is a prime example of what it's talking about. It's got 3 goals listed here. I don't know if this is reading backwards or forwards, but under the goals, they've got 3 goals listed. And then they break down each of these goals. This is goal 1 into the tactics, or if you're using the HB90 method, the tasks. Goal 2 and tasks, goal 3 and tasks. And in this particular example, their goals were close $105,000 in a new business, lose 10 pounds, and improve my relationship with Carol, which I'm assuming is a partner. And under the first goal, they've got the tactic split into two columns. The first is the tactic itself, and then the second column is like the due date for the tactic, because some things are repeating and some things are due like one and done kind of things, which I did like that too. I liked how it talked about the tasks having due dates. Again, that comes more from like the business side of things versus the creative writerly side of things. But I did actually enjoy that, because I think that's the one thing for me with the HB90 method that actually throws me for a loop, is that there's no explicit due dates for each of the tasks you create. I mean, you can set them yourself, don't get me wrong, but like the whole point is they just got to be done within that quarter. Whereas the way they want you to lay out your tactics with this, in order to accomplish your goals, you need to set a specific due date for all the different things. So like their first tactic, I was trying to combine task and tactic into one word, did not work. For their goal of close $105,000 in a new business was ID top in profile opportunities, minimum of $10,000, likely to close within 12 weeks. I do not know what that means. It's some kind of business thing, but the reason I wanted to use that example is that it was like their due dates were like, when does this need to be accomplished by? And so their due date for that one was week 1. That needs to be done during the first week of the 12-week year. And then each of the other tactics they have listed under that one goal has to be done. They're repeating tasks that have to be done each week. So, like, one of them is create a folder for opportunity with the next steps for each, follow up with prospects weekly to close. Those are things that have to be done weeks 1 through 12. And then under their other goals, they had the same thing where they had tactics. Some were like week 1, they had specific weeks they had to do them by, whereas there were other times there were like each week, or like there was another example. Let's see if I can find the other example. Did I mark it or did I not? Maybe I didn't. I did not. No, it wasn't in the book. There was another example because I did that website I posted. I did download those documents and they did have another example. You guys okay? Okay. I'm guessing you are. They did have another example where it was like something they were doing was every other week, not every week. So it was really interesting to see how they implemented those due dates with their tactics. Mama Ward is here. Hello. Lurking and listening. And Dawn says, it's okay, Mama Amity. I'm lurking and listening too. I am out of Monster and it's time to drink my soda. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Again, if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay. I want to flip to my next thing I wanted to show you guys. Of course, I'm not showing everything that's in the book. I'm just showing the things that I felt were like the most important pieces to me. The things that felt like they were most important. So the other thing that they talked about was, hello, Rita. It is Rita, right? Miranda's Cauldron is Rita, right? I feel like that's right. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong. It's been so long since I've seen you on one of my streams, I have forgotten. Okay. But another thing that's similar between this and the HB90 method is the fact of rewards. Sarah talks about in the wow, can I talk tonight or not? No, apparently not. She talks about in the HB90 method that having rewards when you hit certain milestones. And this one does, this book with the 12-week year does something fairly similar. They call it keeping score. And basically they want you to have a percentage of tactics. I will probably mix those up throughout the rest of the stream. They want you to get an 85% complete on your tactics every week. You are supposed to create a chart every week that shows what your tactics are for that week. And then at the end of the week, you are supposed to have an 85% completion of those tactics. So they showed one of the pages, an example of using the example that I showed before with their goals. They showed one of their weekly score charts, the scorekeeper charts, basically. And what it is, again, I gotta switch cameras. There we go. They just have like a little checklist. There is their goal with the tactics for that week, goal, tactics for the week, goal, tactic for the week. And at the end of the week, they mark down how many that they have completed and divide it by the number total they have. And that gives them their percentage to say whether or not they've completed that number or not throughout the week. And I thought that was really cool as well. The only thing that I didn't like about that is, again, you've got to set that up every single week, which I guess you can do in a planner, but they've got documents that they give you where you would basically just print off. Again, going to that website with the getting started packet, they would they have documents that you can print off. So all you have to do is fill them out, and you just have to print out multiple copies of that score chart. But I did like the score chart. I thought that was a cool idea. That is something. I am someone who likes the HB90 method, even though you don't see a Kanban anywhere in my facility anymore. But I like the idea of the score chart and deciding whether or not I've accomplished that my week's goals by marking through them or checking them off and seeing exactly how many of them I completed versus how many of them I did not complete. The other thing was that if it was something you were supposed to do multiple times a week with this particular system, like say in the case of something you had, like say you had to make a phone call to prospective clients, I'm summing down one of their own goals in here, but you had to make those calls multiple times a week. Like say you had to do it 3 times a week. If you only did it twice, you don't get to cross it off. You have to do it that 3 times. So for that completion of that tactic. I told you I'm going to mix those two up throughout this entire talk the rest of the time. So that was an interesting way to score chart it. Again, I'm going to be doing a lot of comparisons to the HB90 method because, like I said, it is very, very similar to the HB90 method. If you already do the HB90 method, I don't recommend this unless you want a more business look into the same system. It's literally the same thing with different wording, because one of the things in the HB90 method is blocking out your time. Nope, wrong way. It's a timetable. Now, because this is meant for like businesses, it's only got 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and it's blocked out with hour-long segments versus I think the HB90 planner has 30-minute segments. But this has Sunday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And you get to block out your time and see where your time is going and what it's going towards. Does that not sound familiar? I feel like that sounds familiar. So again, like that, I love that. That's one of my favorite things about the HB90 method is oh, that's a good idea, Eva. Thank you. I'll have to do that. But crap, I lost my train of thought because I was reading Eva's comment about renaming the street. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it is Rita. Thank you for correcting me. Not correcting me. Confirming what I thought. Thank you. I can't English. But yeah, like I said, there's so many similarities. It's not even funny. It's literally just the way it's worded and how it's worded, and the fact that this is from more of a business standpoint than a writer standpoint. Which is why I'm going to be interested in January to read the 12-week year for writers and see how that compares, and especially to see how it's geared towards writers. The last thing I wanted to show you guys in this book before I basically sum up everything. Hi, again. This is actually a comparison to something that's not part of the HB90 method, but some people might also recognize. Has anyone done, I think it's called Level 10 for Life or Level 10 Life. It's got that wheel that's separated into 10 different factors like relationships, spiritual or religion, friends, social. I don't remember all 10 spokes of the wheel, but you're supposed to like grade yourself on how well you're doing in each categories, with the ideal life being 10 in every category. Does anyone know what I'm talking about with the level 10? I want to say it's called Level 10 for Life. It's level 10 something. It might just be level 10. But the reason I mention that is because this also has something fairly similar with one of their charts they show. Because one of the things they talk about is committing to the tactics, committing to the tactics and your goals, making that commitment so that you can better your life. And one of the things they walk you through is they want you to have a vision of where you see your life in 3 years and how you're going to get there and why that will benefit you. And one of the other charts that I really like in this book that I wish they did have a PDF for, but I didn't see one. Doesn't mean it's not there. I'm still looking through all the stuff I downloaded from that link I shared earlier. And it might be there. I haven't seen it yet though. And that is this chart right here. I even have to turn the book. It's not the level 10, but it's got 7 of the same spokes from the level 10. And then it's got the 12-week goal statements that wants you to choose your 3 goals, your keystone actions, which are the 3 actions that you absolutely have to take in order to make your life better based on your goals, and then commitment costs. And what it means by commitment costs is what will you have to give up in order to make this work. And what it means by that is, do you have to lose the, maybe you're going to have to miss out on TV time. Maybe you watch more TV and you're going to have to shrink down the amount of TV you watch in order to get your goals accomplished. Things like that. But I love this chart. I think this is actually one of the best things about this book, because it lets you evaluate where your life currently is. And then you can go back later after the 12 weeks and reevaluate this and see how much has changed. I think that is such a cool concept. And I absolutely love that. I'm really hoping it's in the packet that I downloaded. Of course, I downloaded the packet on my other computer, not this one. So I'll have to check that out later. Okay, we go to the comments section and see a bunch of stuff popped up. I've not tried it. Would we start in January, Laura? I've read the 12-week year for writers and attempted it a few times. Oh, cool. You going to join me for the talk in January? And when the end of January, we're going to talk about the 12-week for writers. Level 10 is worth the run through. I have not done level 10. I've just heard of it. And I've heard of other people doing it. I've watched videos on level 10, but never really done it. I tried when my brain was still stuck in quarters equals 9 weeks. Yes, it was an eye-opener. Nice. The last thing I will say about this is as it talks about the system being for 12 weeks, but it actually wants you to run it for 13. That 13th week is where you analyze everything you did over the 12 weeks, see what worked, what didn't work, make changes, and plan for the next 12 weeks. So that was another thing I did like about this, was the fact that they gave you that buffer week to before you go into the next 12 weeks. You have that week on week 13 that you use to set up the next 12 weeks and evaluate what you did the previous 12 weeks and make adaptations and changes to your plan so that you will be more successful with the next week. I did enjoy that too. There was not a very long chapter, but a chapter on that by itself. The chapter, it's like a page, quite literally. It's a page talking about using week 13 to plan for the next 12 weeks. So, Laura, you're talking about doing the 12 weeks in January. Guess what I'm doing in January? I am going to start putting what I want to do. Actually, today's the last day in November. I have kind of been toying around the idea of using this in December. What I want to do in December, though, is I want to choose one goal and use the strategies this talks about, which, again, are fairly similar to the HB90. I want to come up with my tactics. I want to fill out some of the worksheets that I saw, and I want to put them into practice in December to see how they work. And then I want to do the full thing in January and go a full 12 weeks in January, starting in January. It would actually start, let me look at a calendar real quick, because I like to start my weeks on Monday. Can I open the calendar, please? No? Apparently my computer doesn't want me to open the calendar. Mom Maggie says January 1st is on the Thursday for 2026 and will be 12 weeks and 5 days. I actually will probably start on the 29th of December because I like to start on Mondays. So I will probably start officially on either on the 29th or the 5th, one of the two. But I'm going to be doing this with just one single goal, listing out the tactics, giving those tactics due dates, and trying that in December to see how I like it. With and trying my hardest not to compare it to the HB90 method, because it's really hard to do. There were so many things that were similar. It's not even funny. But I do want to try this in December with just one goal because I'm going on hiatus for YouTube stuff. But I am using that month to like create content for January, February, March, like the first quarter. And I think that would be perfect. I'm going to use this method in order to accomplish my YouTube goals, basically, my YouTube goal of creating content for the new year. January 5th sounds like plan. I am on board with this. We can start our 12 weeks in January 5th. And if you guys are a Sunday start person, January 4th. I will, even if I was a Sunday start person, I probably wouldn't start January 4th because that's my anniversary. So I would not be starting anything on the 4th. That is a lazy day where I hang out with the hubs all day. But I basically want to try it, a trial run. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. A trial run in December to see how it works with just a singular goal, and then go full front force in January through March, or however long 12 weeks is from January 5th, because I like the January 5th start. And then at the end of January, I have mentioned it before. I'll go ahead and mention it again, and I'll put up a link for anyone who wants to get it. How do I share this instead? There we go. So at the end of January, we're always going to be doing the craft symposiums on the last Sunday in the month. So January 25th, we are going to be discussing the 12-week year for writers. And I will be doing a side-by-side comparison of these two books to see how they compare and contrast to each other. And then I might skew my tactics for my 12-week year based on what I read in the 12-week year for writers. So currently, when I start in January, I will be doing 12-week year like this, but by the end of January, after reading 12-week year for writers, I might skew towards that instead. However much time is different. We're all making plans. Yes. Let me scroll back up because I know I missed some comments up top. Mama Ward says I will need to read it. The Art of War for Writers. I have not read The Art of War for Writers. I need to add that to my list of books to read. Give me just a few seconds. Anyone know off the top of their heads who wrote that one? Art of War for Writers. I do not know who wrote that off the top of my head. Let's see. Love the nail color. Thank you. I had to get the wedding nail polish taken off last weekend, and so I've had these for about a week now. And I was like, I want something holiday themed. The color is called mulberry. I was like, that's perfect. So sounds like everyone who's going to do the 12-week year is going to do it starting Monday, January 5th, using December to get a jump on January 2, since I can't be consistent with B-days, holidays, snow days. Yep. Take over the world. One book at a time, Pinky. I am here for that. Yes. December is my acorn month. Nice. Eva says, I'm terrified something will thwart any plans I make, but I'm going to try to do this with you all. I need to stay on track at the start of 2026. You got this, Eva. We got this. Doing programs like this usually teaches you flexibility and patience with the self in that regard. Yes. This one of the other things I did like about this book is the fact that it mentioned that at least if you are first starting to do this journey, if you've never done the 12-week year system before, it did say that you will probably fail more times than you will succeed at first. And I did like that because it only mentioned it once or twice, but I liked the fact that it acknowledged that you are probably going to fail at first because you're stuck in your ways. You're used to doing things a certain way. People don't like change. They don't want to join in anything and make any changes that will be upsetting to their life, even if it benefits them in the long run. In the short term, it does not, and they don't see the rewards right away. So they acknowledge the fact that you are going to probably fail. And if you don't fail right away, they said that you're probably not challenging yourself enough, which I thought was interesting because they talked about it being a balancing act of making sure your goals and tactics are accomplishable, but that they challenge you and push you out of your comfort zone in order to accomplish what you want your ideal life to be, what you think you are fully capable of. And there is a quote, let me see if I can find it real quick, that I absolutely love that they used near the beginning of the book. Of course, I'm not going to find it. I've got too many tabs, y'all. Nope, I can't find it. I'll have to find it and I'll put it in like the comments below once this is no longer live. I should have marked that too, and I did not. I do like this quote though. This is not the one I was looking for, but I do like this one. It says, "The greatest predictor of your future are your daily actions." The greatest predictor of your future are your daily actions. I did like that quote as well. You know what I realized? I did not drop in the link for the 12-week year for writers for anyone who wants to get it. I put the book on the screen and didn't drop the link in the chat. So let me change that now. There we go. Let's see. 12-week winter 2026, or what's the hashtag? I have no idea. I am not good at hashtags. Failing is fine. If you're going to fail, then fail gloriously, but never stop trying new things. I love that. I'm going to quote that. I need that on a t-shirt. They don't see the rewards right away, so they forget there are rewards at all. That is me. Yes. Yes. Can we do a challenge group chat or something to do check-ins with each other? That was the other thing it mentioned. And I just realized I did not mention that at all. With the weekly scorecard, it's lovely that you guys in the chat mentioned doing this as a group, because one of the things they mentioned was something they call WHAM. Let me find where they actually talked about that real quick. Where is the WHAM? WHAM is an acronym for something else entirely. Weekly. Oh, googly moogly. I'm sorry, guys, that I did not have this marked. Weekly accountability meeting. So they actually talked about meeting other people who are also doing the 12-week year and talking about it actually gives a weekly accountability meeting agenda, WHAM agenda, and it says individual report. Each member states how they are tracking against their goals and how well they are executed. The 4 areas to focus on are your results for the 12-year to date, your weekly execution score, intentions for the upcoming week, and feedback and suggestions from the rest of the group. And then the second thing that is a part of the meeting is successful techniques. Discuss as a group what's been working well and how to incorporate these techniques into each other's plans. Like what worked for you may work also for someone else, but they might not have thought about it, kind of thing. And then the third step was encouragement. I love that you guys brought up doing this challenge together, because I absolutely love that idea. And it goes with their own, what they talk about with the WHAM meetings, the fact that you get together as a group and talk about what's going right, what's going wrong, brainstorm together how to fix it, and encourage each other to keep going. Do you think you'll be able to do lives? Maybe we could do it. Oh, I like the idea of a spreadsheet. I can put something like that together. And then even if we don't go live, we could always do something like a backstage session kind of like this, but not live for anyone. I mean, the live works too. We could always do a live. That would be up to everyone else, basically. But yeah, group chat. I'm making notes. Group chat, spreadsheet. Apparently now I can't spell spreadsheet. Live streams / backstage sessions. Sesh. Boom. Let's see. If any of you have seen the Troublemakers Accountability, perhaps something similar to that, it's a guide. I'll have to look into that. I haven't seen a lot of the Troublemakers. I've seen a lot of their stuff individually, but not as a group, as the Troublemakers. Because I don't watch a lot of previously aired live streams, and I am never around when they go live by itself. So, in fact, I'm not even certain if I'm subscribed to the channel now I think about it. But I'll have to do some research. Research time. Troublemakers research. All right, Mama Ward is heading out. Thank you for joining us, Mama Ward, and you have a good one. They just go live and go over the spreadsheet, sort of score, grade each other's progress. Oh, I like that. Okay, I'll have to go check it out. All right. Is there anything else that you would like to know about? Let me switch out the covers, because that's the one we're going to talk about next month. This is the one we're talking about this month. Whoops, I should have changed it back earlier. That's okay. Is there anything else that anyone would like to know about the 12-week year that I might be able to answer? I might have to flip through my book and find the answer, but that was pretty much everything that I wanted to talk about. And then Eva brought up the last thing I was going to discuss by herself. And I love that. Thank you, Eva. Or was it Laura? Someone brought up doing it together as a group. I think it was Laura and Eva kind of together. Yes, both of you together. How long of a read is it? It's 188 pages. 188 pages. I read it in a little over a week, and a lot of it was during chunks here and there at work during my breaks. So it's not a real chunky book. I just have a lot of tabs because anytime there was any kind of a list, though I did notice by the end that a lot of the lists were kind of repeating themselves. Anytime there was a list, anytime there was like an image, template, there was a lot of those. And then anytime I had a stream of consciousness thought that I wanted to mark down, I put a tab. So it looks like I had a lot of thoughts, and I did have a lot of thoughts, but a lot of my thoughts were answered later kind of thing. So, all right. So the round table, I like round table, by the way. I like the Arthurian reference. Laura, who else is doing this? Eva, because those two were the ones that came up with the idea. Laura brought it up. I just tagged along. Okay. Full round table. Anyone else interested in joining so I can make a group chat? And then what is the best way to reach everyone? Whether I am only on Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two that I use the most. Or is email better? If email might work too. That way I can go ahead and create the group chat and put that together and send out a spreadsheet once I create it. I feel like there was someone else. Let me scroll back up and make sure I'm not missing anyone who said they were going to join. I can't. Mama Ward, maybe. She said she was making plans and she was doing Acorn Month, but I don't know if she was jumping on the bandwagon with doing this. Facebook, email, text, IG, anywhere else, and I'll be around. Yeah, I do have the 12-week year for writers on ebook, so I will be reading that both December and January. I want to read it the first time in December and reread it and take notes on it in January. That's for those who are curious how I do these symposiums. I read the book just straight through, no notes, no nothing. This is my second time reading this, and this time I took notes. The same thing will be true with the 12-week year for writers. I plan on reading it all the way through first time, and then I will make notes the second read through. Instagram or Discord, okay. It looks like I'll be making on Instagram then. I re-downloaded Instagram on my phone because as much as I hate it, as much as it's a time suck for me because I get stuck on it and just scroll, I was tired of missing messages. So I finally just re-downloaded it on my phone. So I'll probably make a group chat in Instagram. Okay. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So I've got homework. I have to see how the troublemakers make their accountability spreadsheet. I am going to make spreadsheets that kind of reflect um, the charts that they have in here for the goals, the tactics, and stuff like that with the due dates. That way, anyone who wants to use that can. And then I will make the accountability spreadsheet as well. I'll make the group chat for anyone who wants to join in. I will have one with a section for just December for anyone who wants to hop on it in December and try it out. And then a full-fledged one for the 12 weeks starting January 5th. And I'll have like dates. And methinks that a good date to do, not date, a good day to do the check-ins is Sunday, because if we're going to be starting our week on Monday, it makes sense that a check-in would be on Sunday before the start of the next week. How does it sound to y'all? Are you guys agreeing with that? As far as like check-ins every Sunday starting January 5th? Well, the first one would be January 11th. The first check-in would be January 11th. I have homework for tomorrow. Okay. And of course, once I make the group chat, we can finalize things. And if anyone has suggestions on how to fix the spreadsheet or anything that should be added to the spreadsheet, that's fine too. All right. Well, that is all I have for you guys. Thank you all for joining me tonight for this discussion. It's been a lively chat, and I am happy to see that. This is my last stream for this year officially. I am going on hiatus from YouTube in December. I have a couple of posts that are already pre-scheduled to go live with a couple of different fun things or information about them, what's coming up. But otherwise, you will not see me again. I might be in the chat section of a couple of different things, but otherwise I will not be on YouTube at all, except for like catching up with my watch later list, which is over 200 videos long, and I wanted to drop down below 100. I do not like it being over 200. Yeah. So let's see. Laura asked if I do a stream to set up my goals for the first set of 12 weeks. Would anyone want to join me on screen? Depends on when you're doing it, because even though I just said that I will not be live at all in December, if you're doing it for the 12 weeks, I may say yes, depending on what date. Sunday check-ins sound good. Okay. Enjoy the final parts of the year. Thank you for being part of my 2025. You are absolutely welcome. Thank you for joining me in 2025. Everyone here has been wonderful. I have loved every single moment with everyone. It's been fantastic. And if you are just watching this for the first time and you don't know who I am, my name is Skye. I am a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name S.D. Haggis. And today I was talking about this book, The 12-Week Year, which is actually on screen still, if I still have it up. Yes. We were discussing this book. I like to do one of these chats once a month where I talk about some kind of craft books. Usually it's actually a writing-related craft book, but I felt like we had to read this one before reading the writer-related one so we can do a comparison of the two. And in January, we will be reading the writer one, which is the 12-week year for writers, which is this one that is now on screen. And yeah, we'll do a comparison of the two then. In the meantime, I am going to do a trial run of this in December to see how it works. And then we will be doing a full-fledged version of this one starting January 5th with check-ins on Sunday. If you want to be a part of that, I do have links in the description where you can kind of contact me and join me in that endeavor and say, hey, can you add me to your group list? Here's my contact information, kind of thing. Probably do my stream January 2nd, Friday. Okay, yeah. I might be able to join you for that. Check in with me closer to that date, and I will have an official answer for you then, basically. So, all right. I think that's everything. Talked about the book we're reading in January. No book in December because I'm going on hiatus. Talked about the fact that I'm going on hiatus. You guys now know who I am, what we discussed, what the plans are. And yeah, all right. Snort, blow, blow. Both the dogs are behind me. Anyways, that is going to be all. Thank you all for joining me today. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. If you want to join us on the endeavor and you just want to say so in the comments section, you can do that too. And yeah, I think that is where we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for joining me, and I hope you all have a lovely rest of the year and a lovely new year. And I will see you guys all in January officially, maybe sometime between that in comment section elsewhere. So that is all. Bye, everyone.